Millions are casting ballots in the biggest day of primary season. I'm Natalie Brandon, Virginia, with a look at the polls and what voters are saying.
Plus, we're going to talk with some Super Tuesday voters in Northeast Oklahoma about what drove them to the polls. And school officials in Carthage, Missouri break ground on a new high school baseball field.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Some 4-staters are among voters across much of the nation today expressing their presidential preferences. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. Oklahomans cast their ballots today to select presidential nominees for the Republican, Democratic, and Libertarian parties. We asked a number of voters in Miami what drove them to the polls. Many used the word change. Specific concerns included border control, the economy, and gas and grocery prices. But not everyone is in agreement on the issues.
We've just got an open border and we've got all these guys coming in. We've got more crime in the country. We've had all these problems due to the fact that we can't close the border.
We need migrants. That's how our country's going to grow. And if we don't, then we're going to stagnate.
Now, while KOIM's team did not ask voters who they voted for, some chose to share their thoughts, and Donald Trump was the most mentioned. On this Super Tuesday, besides Oklahoma, 14 other states held primaries or caucuses. Former President Donald Trump called Super Tuesday the most important day on the Republican primary calendar. Natalie Brand has more details from Alexandria, Virginia.
From coast to coast, millions of voters across more than a dozen states are getting their chance to shape the presidential race.
Voting is, it's a responsibility we have. And if you don't vote, then you can't complain about, what's going on in the world because you had an opportunity to do something and you chose not to.
While more than 1/3 of delegates are up for grabs today, neither former President Donald Trump or President Biden can clinch the nomination. But it could solidify a likely rematch in November.
I voted for Trump, and I think that he did better in 2020 than people thought, and I think he might do better this time around as well.
I'm a big supporter of Joe Biden, President Biden, and I felt it was important to cast my vote to send a message that he's our commander-in-chief and that I think he'll make a great president in the second term.
The majority of primaries today are open, like here in Virginia, meaning registered voters can choose which party's primary they'd like to participate in.
I'm a Democrat. I will be voting for Joe Biden in the general election, but I put in a vote for Nikki Haley today.
Nikki Haley, Trump's remaining Republican challenger, hasn't revealed her plans past Super Tuesday. Supporters, including Brittany Martinez, hope she stays in the race.
I say keep at it because you're a voice for people like me who don't feel supported by the current MAGA party.
A recent national CBS News poll shows Trump has maintained his support among his core constituencies, while President Biden's support among some of his key groups trails what he got in 2020. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Alexandria, Virginia.
For further proof, former President Donald Trump has solidified his support among Republicans. 98% of Republican voters surveyed by CBS News say they'll vote for Trump in November if he's matched up against President Biden. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy for a first look at the weather.
Well, of course, it turned out to be a much cooler day for us today. Yesterday, we set a record high on Sunday. Not today. High temps actually a little bit below our average high for this time of the year. We're mainly sitting upper 40s to near 50 degrees, a little bit warmer once you get into our western counties. But check out the 24-hour temperature change. So from 504 right now compared to 504 last night, 25 to 30 degrees colder at this point in time. We do have a northerly wind, a little bit on the breezy side, 10 to 15, gusts a little bit higher than that. Those winds will start to diminish a little bit as we go through the evening hours. We'll slide back through the 50s, 40s. We'll hang out in the 40s later on tonight. We do have some clouds, but those will start to break up later on tonight. A much bigger system will start to affect us tomorrow night. We'll talk about that here in a bit.
See you soon. One of the persons of interest in a Jasper County stabbing death is now charged with murder. Scott Burleson is charged with second-degree murder, first-degree robbery, and 2 counts of armed criminal action. He is still on the run. Authorities are also still searching for Paul Phillips, who's still only considered a person of interest and is not charged. Both are to be considered armed and dangerous. Jasper County Sheriff's Office is searching for both men in connection with the stabbing death of Seth Langford of Carl Junction. Authorities say Langford was stabbed on Saturday and died of his injuries yesterday. Some Pitt State social work students are raising money for local organizations. The 5 students raised money by selling cookies and collecting donations. Those funds will support buying fentanyl test strips for the Wesley House in Joplin and the Community Health Center in Pittsburgh. The Wesley House will also receive feminine hygiene products, and money will fund school supplies for Pittsburgh's Westside Elementary.
We want to show the community that social workers can help out in many different areas and just give the people in need just a little bit of support and love and show that they are cared for and that we care about them and want to help them in the best ways possible.
Students also recruited volunteers for a prom for the people with intellectual disabilities and raised awareness for men's mental health. A groundbreaking ceremony for Carthage High School today was a home run. KOAM's Amber Jenkins joins us in the studio with more.
Today, the school district broke ground, signaling that Phase 1 of the Carthage High School's baseball field is underway. With the podium representing home base, the coach says this new location should improve practice time. The baseball team has been using Carl Luton Stadium for practice in the meantime, but with the $1.2 million+ stadium on the horizon, players are excited to practice on a new turf.
I feel like a lot of people play on turf fields and we didn't have that to practice on. And so us practicing on a turf field will help us control the hops better, and I feel like it will help us a lot.
Phase 1 and 2 of building the new baseball field is expected to wrap up in September, right in time for the next baseball season. Now, back to you.
Thanks. Still ahead, why health officials say an avian flu outbreak killing thousands of seals could be a warning sign. Plus, new research spotlights a connection between COVID and autoimmune disease risk. Topping today's Health Watch, getting COVID-19 increases the risk of autoimmune inflammatory rheumatic diseases for up to a year later. That's according to a new study from South Korea, which shows the worse the COVID infection, the greater the risk becomes. Researchers say patients recovering from severe COVID should keep an eye out for symptoms including joint pain or swelling. Alarming pictures out of Argentina show a massive die-off of elephant seals that happened late last year. According to scientists, more than 18,000 seal pups died, and the deaths are now being blamed on a surprising threat, the virus we know as bird flu. Bradley Blackburn has more on why it could be a warning sign.
Along the rugged coast of western Argentina, dying elephant seals filled the beaches last year, a sight that horrified researcher Valeria Falabella.
Someone described it as apocalyptic.
She and her colleagues estimate 18,000 dead, most of them pups. More than 95% of the seals born here in 2023 did not survive.
This kind of mortality is completely new for us.
H5N1, the virus known as avian influenza, has been circulating in birds for decades. Last year's sky-high egg prices were due to a 2022 outbreak that affected 58 million chickens in the U.S. alone. There have been cases where the virus spreads from infected birds to mammals. Now researchers fear it may be moving from one mammal to another.
You feel like it's likely? I think it's quite likely. Humans visit the sea edge.
Dr. Chris Walzer with the Wildlife Conservation Society in New York says we need better tracking of viruses in animals to better protect humans.
This avian influenza outbreak in the last 3 years has been one of the largest threats to wildlife globally. We just can't wait for it to hit human populations. We need to be working upstream to look at what's happening in these wildlife populations.
He says the risk remains low, but the virus is changing quickly. These images should be a warning to governments.
We really need to be on it to see, is the virus acquiring new traits that could create a problem for us humans?
This virus has the potential to be a pandemic.
Absolutely.
In Argentina, they will be counting the seals again this year, hoping for a better outcome.
I will never thought that I will have this kind of sight in my life.
Watching for signs of a spreading virus. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Other news, the mortality rate for black infants is more than double that of white, Hispanic, or Asian babies. New CDC data shows the rate for black infants is 10.5 deaths for every 1,000 births, while the national average is 5.5 deaths. According to the Commonwealth Fund, the U.S. has the highest infant mortality rate among high-income countries. Women with multiple sclerosis can safely take certain medications while breastfeeding. A new study from the American Academy of Neurology finds treating MS with monoclonal antibodies does not cause developmental delays during a child's first 3 years of life. MS affects women 2 to 3 times more often than men and typically develops between 20 and 40 years old. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, a look at the new demands the FAA is putting on Boeing after last month's mid-air blowout.
And of course, a big cool down for us today, but we have rain in the forecast, even thunderstorms. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, of course, we've had a pretty good stretch of nice weather across the region after another fantastic weekend. We set record highs on Sunday, and then yesterday we set a record high as we were hit 79 degrees. Then the cold front rolled through yesterday evening, so much cooler for us today as we've been kind of hanging out into the low 50s all day long. Looks good though. Here's a nice shot. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. Now it's cloudy, and we are going to have mostly cloudy skies as we go through the night, but overall it's fine. It's 54 in Parsons, 58 at Grand Lake, Pittsburgh 50, Neosho is sitting at 49 degrees. We can go out 7th and Rangeline. It's gloomy. It's 49 north winds. It's been kind of breezy at about 10 to 15, so that makes it feel a little bit cooler than what it actually is. It's going to stay breezy as we go through the evening, and then these winds will start to diminish a little bit later on tonight. But if you're going to be out this evening, hanging lower 50s, then we drop back low to mid 40s for overnight lows. We do have clearing out in our western counties. That's why it's a little bit warmer. But then along the state line into southwestern Missouri, we're kind of socked in with those low-level clouds. One storm system heading away from us. Let's look out toward the west. Here's the beginnings of our next storm system right across the Pacific Northwest. This is going to shoot in as we go into tomorrow night, Thursday, and Friday, changing our weather up once again. So let's go through time. Mostly cloudy skies tonight, but clearing out late. We drop back mid-40s. As we go through the morning hours, easterly wind, but warmer, upper 50s by noon. And once we get into the afternoon, I think most of us 65, 6, 7 degrees. So Wednesday will be a pretty good day. As we get into tomorrow night, clouds increase again. Scattered thunderstorms start to pop up. This is very late tomorrow night into Thursday morning. But some of these storms could be kind of strong as they push through Thursday morning. Most likely not severe, but kind of loud. Could have some small hail within some of these storms. Scattered thunderstorms through the morning. A little bit of a break, and then they'll pick up again as we get into Thursday evening. And again, some of those could be on the stronger side. Periods of showers and thunderstorms Thursday night, and then into Friday morning, and then just kind of a colder rain with showers and thunderstorms as we go through the daytime hours on Friday. But we need the rain. We're in the spring months now. I think a lot of us should get some decent amounts by the time this is going to be out of here Saturday morning. A lot of us will pick up 1 to 2 inches of rain and maybe some isolated heavier amounts in spots, which again, we could kind of use. All right, dropping back to 46 by morning, 60 by noon, 4 p.m., 66 degrees during the afternoon. We kind of hang into the 60s as we go through the next couple days with those showers and thunderstorms. Much cooler weekend, but we do dry out just in time for the weekend, but we'll only be into the 50s. Thunderstorm chances again next Wednesday and Thursday, but boy, we need the rain. March, April, and May, those are our rainiest months, so we need to make sure we hit on this one, and it looks like we will.
That's good to hear. Thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Coming up, how federal regulators are cracking down on junk fees from credit card companies. Topping today's Consumer Watch, federal regulators today took a step toward trashing junk fees. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalized regulations that cap most credit card late charges at $8. According to the agency, this is going to save U.S. families more than $10 billion per year. For the more than 45 million people who are charged late fees every year, it works out to about $220 of yearly savings. It's another rough few weeks for Boeing as Amy Kiley reports. An FAA audit report out yesterday alleges non-compliance issues and the company is getting sued.
Boeing faces another round of headaches.
I don't think there's been a day that's gone by that we haven't thought about it.
This couple and another passenger are suing Alaska Airlines and Boeing for $1 billion. They were on the 737 MAX 9 in January when a door plug flew off mid-flight.
We have to change our lives around this fear of flying now.
An FAA audit report out yesterday stems from that January accident. It alleges multiple non-compliance issues. Boeing has fewer than 90 days to produce a quality improvement plan based on the audit and an earlier expert panel review. The CEO says those provide a clear picture of what needs to be done. He says Boeing will demonstrate profound change. Meanwhile, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is back in the news a decade after it went missing. The Malaysian government says it might be open to renewing the search for it.
They do have over 50 to 60 pieces of the plane that washed up, so they know for a fact it's down there somewhere.
To be clear, the missing plane is a Boeing 777, not a 737 MAX 9. And a key investigator on that case says it's not the aircraft she suspects.
I still go back to the lithium-ion batteries in the cargo hold. We don't allow that, and there's a reason.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Meta platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, went down for thousands of users this morning, but by early afternoon, the sites were back up and running. Meta attributed the outage to a technical issue. According to outage tracker Down Detector, at least 500,000 Facebook users reported issues logging in or accessing the site. Threads and Facebook Messenger also went down. For the first time in 7 years, Target missed the mark. The retail giant today announced its sales fell last year. That's something that hasn't happened since 2016 and really highlights the financial struggle facing consumers. Target predicts sales will continue to be sluggish for all of 2024. Middle-class Americans have pulled back on spending, buying the necessities and not extras like electronics and home decor. A final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, why officials in California are undertaking the largest dam removal project in U.S. history. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to hear more from voters in Miami, Oklahoma about just specifically what drove them to the polls today. Plus, the SEK Humane Society is closed again because of another parvo outbreak. And the Riverton School District comes together to send the Rams off to the state basketball tournament. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. An underwater exploration off the coast of Chile has led to the discovery of more than 100 new sea creatures. This is video from the Schmidt Ocean Institute expedition. Scientists identified deep sea corals, what they call glass sponges, sea urchins, and so-called squat lobsters. The discoveries were all in an underwater mountain chain that stretches from Chile to Easter Island. We're discovering new species on land every day, and there's so much of the ocean that is basically unexplored. Who knows what might be out there?
Very true.
The weather looking promising for those hoping for rain this week.
Yes, it is. We are going to warm up a little bit as we go into the daytime hours for us tomorrow, and then chances for showers and thunderstorms. Good bet on Thursday, Friday, into Saturday morning.
Thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. Let's make it a great evening.